Hey there, it's your host, Cindy Chang, founder of Evolve Consulting Co. and the visionary behind an exciting new venture launching in 2025, making staffing accessible for companies of all sizes. Welcome back to the Fearless Entrepreneurs podcast, where we dive deep into the stories behind Canada's most inspiring brands. Together, we'll uncover how these bold entrepreneurs sparked their dreams, tackled their toughest challenges, and leaned into their fears to achieve success. I'm thrilled you're here, bold enough to embrace the hard truths and inspired to learn from their journeys. Ready to dive in? Let's go. Today's guest is someone who didn't just follow a dream. She packed it into a suitcase and flew across the Atlantic and built a business around it. April Pett is the founder of April in Paris Tours, a boutique tour company that's become a go-to for travelers seeking a truly personal and unforgettable experience in the City of Light. April's journey started in a small town in Ontario, but a spark was lit the moment she stepped off the metro at Place de la Concorde at just 17 years old. And that spark turned into a full-blown calling. Nearly a decade later, she's made the bold move to launch her own company, crafting private, curated tours that reveal the heart of Paris far beyond the guidebooks. She's earned major recognition, including TripAdvisor's 2024 award for being in the top 10% of experiences worldwide. But what makes April's work really stand out is her love for the city and her deep respect for its culture and her commitment to giving each traveler a meaningful insider experience. April's story is about passion, persistence, and building something from the ground up in a city known for both its beauty and its challenges. We are so excited to welcome her today to talk about entrepreneurship, reinvention, and of course, a little magic from Paris. Welcome to the show, April.
Hi, bonjour, Cindy. Thank you for having me.
Bonjour. I was wondering if you were going to test me on my French today, so
Well, it's
here to
only the
start.
beginning of the conversation. We still have some time to go, so I'm going to keep you on your.
So, April, I cannot wait to dig into your journey. I think this one is great, not only for entrepreneurs, but for people following a calling or following their dream. How did this all start for you?
Well, Cindy, I think that it's safe to say that I was born with this desire for wanderlust in my soul. It was my great grandparents on my dad's side that left Europe from Italy to move to Canada. It was my nonni on my mom's side who also moved to Canada from Italy. And travel and exploration, like in my bloodstream from when I was born. As a child, for my nonni, it was super important that myself and my cousins were immersed in the Italian culture. And so we would go to Italy every few years. And I always had a knack for languages because ever since I could open my mouth, I was speaking both English and Italian. When it came time to decide which kind of career path I was going to take, naturally languages was at the top of that list. For my high school graduation trip, I got to pack up my suitcase, have my shiny new passport, and came to Paris for my first time. And it was really love at first sight. As you've mentioned in that nice introduction that you gave, coming out of the metro at Place de la Concorde, my hometown is Thorold, Ontario, so a tiny little place. So to have this big, bustling, beautiful city buzzing around me, the golden dipped monuments, the Eiffel Tower reaching out in the distance, waving bonjour. Yeah, it was pretty much love at first sight. But back then, at 17 years old, never did I imagine that a decade later I would move here to Paris and actually start my life, start a business. And so here I am. Yeah.
I think that It is so inspirational to hear that it started with a high school field trip.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
insane.
Mhm.
And so you grew up in Italy, or you grew up being Italian, and
Yeah,
you went to Paris, you fell in love with it.
yeah.
Italy versus Paris. Come on, this is the big European debate.
I
What
know,
what
I
made you
know.
settle in France versus
Yeah,
Italy?
I take France over Italy only because a few years later, I turned 19. I moved to Italy and I gained 30 pounds in 3 months from all the pasta and pizza. So I have PTSD from that summer in Italy. So at least here, I can eat all the baguettes that I want by having my tour company. I'm walking like 20K a day. So at least I keep it off.
That is so funny. The pasta and the pizza can really get to you in Italy. So let's take it back to you in high school, stepping off and landing in Paris. For most people, that's a trip, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, this is where I'm going to live. So walk us through, like, from when you arrived in Paris for a trip in high school
Mhm.
all the way to living there. Like, what went through it? What did you tell your parents? What happened in this journey?
It was quite the journey because, as I mentioned, it took a decade for me to actually return to Paris, but permanently set down my roots here. That when I was 17 and I came to Paris, I completely fell in love with the country, so much so that like I studied at Brock University. That's where I obtained my degree in modern languages. And when I had an opportunity during my third year of university to study abroad, I was like, okay, I'm going back to France. And I just had my heart set on coming back to the land of baguettes. I didn't make it back to Paris for that year abroad. I was 10 months in the south of France in a town called Perpignan, bordering Spain, near Barcelona. But I had the opportunity to travel to Paris many times. When I got to explore all those quaint cobblestone streets, all the great monuments, all those amazingly delicious boulangeries, and my love for the French culture really continued to develop, but still took me quite a few years to finally make it back permanently. So, in the meantime, I was quite the jet setter. I've traveled to about 50 different countries, but it, I was pretty much like permanently for a few years settled back in Niagara. So, there I found a job. I was the executive assistant to the director of tourism in Thorold. So if you've ever gone through Thorold and passed by Log 7, there was a good chance that we crossed paths while I was there. And while I was working at Log 7, I got to fulfill this dream and desire of travel because I was meeting excited tourists from around mainly Canada and the States, and once in a while European. And so, yeah, even though I was quite like sedimentary there, that I was still able to express my joie de vivre of traveling. So eventually, I met a guy. We had a house. I started working in public health back in Thorold, and my whole family was like, "Hallelujah! She's done jet setting. She's going to get married." My mom had visions of grandbabies floating around in her head. And then after 4 years of that life, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get out of here. And I left it all behind. And I actually went to Australia first and foremost.
Oh,
Yeah. And
okay.
so I spent 2 years in Australia living the dream in Bondi Beach, surfing on weekends. It was a pretty sweet deal down under. But the problem with living in Australia was that I lost all of the French that I had spent all those years fine tuning, and I
Mm.
couldn't have been further away from France. And so, after 2 years down under, I had an opportunity to stay in Australia, obtain the passport, and I was just like, this doesn't really excite me enough to commit my life to being so far away, especially in a job that I'm not so passionate about. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go back to France. And this time I landed in Paris. So by the time I left Australia, traveled a little bit, spent the holidays back in Thorold, I'd spent all my money. And so I came here with 200 Canadian dollars in my pocket.
Oh, oh my
And I said,
gosh.
how am I going to make my Paris dream a reality? So I was actually a nanny for my first 6 months. And that really gave me the chance to, it was a stepping stone. I was able to brush up on the language skills, find a job, find a Parisian apartment. And yeah, I found a job. Actually, I'd done a tour with this particular tour company 10 years prior. And it was just so much fun that when I saw they were hiring, it's like, I need to work with them. And sure enough, got the job, landed this amazing bike tour guide summer job in the most beautiful city in the world. And there was my passion for travel all over again in this city that I was like falling more in love with every passing moment. So now, a year later, I was turning 30, and I thought, this is all well and dandy, but I need to do something that's more soul filling. So that's when I decided to launch April in Paris Tours. Voila.
That is a true testament to really following your heart and following your dreams. And that just gives me chills because you had really just been okay with dropping everything and following your heart, even if it meant sacrifices, even if it meant changes, even if it meant like leaving your family and doing it in a place that your heart really called to you, right?
Mhm.
Because it wasn't just travel for you, because you did that in Australia and you're like, you know what? This isn't my, it's not 100% it. So you just went for it, which is incredible. And Paris was just that for you
Yeah,
from 17 years old
yeah,
now to yet like to 29 basically
yeah.
was when you really fulfilled that full circle moment for your.
It just at one point, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. This is it. You're in the most beautiful city in the world. You can combine your passion for language, in history, in culture, all together. And why not start your own tour company? A lot of my
Yeah.
colleagues from that other tour company thought I was crazy because, that job put a roof over my head, a warm meal in my stomach. The money was awesome too because these were big private or big public, excuse me, tour groups, Americans. They love to tip. I'd never made so much money in my entire life. And so,
Wow.
and everyone's like, April, are you sure this is a good idea? Because there's just so much competition out there. Like, it's not that we don't think you can do it, but are you sure that it's the right route to go when you have a pretty cushy life now? I needed the challenge. The sense of being challenged is also running through my veins, just like the wanderlust just instilled by my family and my grandparents because they were challenged to go to Canada for a better life. I went with a grain of salt, put it out into the world. I'm going to do this. I had no idea what I was doing. I had the knowledge of Paris, the history. I had some bon plan, as we say here in French, like good addresses for restaurants and bakeries, this kind of stuff. But what did I know about running a business? Social medias, web design, graphic design, absolutely starting from
All the
scratch.
hats.
I remember like
Yes.
the first day I'd quit the job, open my laptop and thought, now what? I was staring at a blank screen thinking, what have I done? Was I insane to take this like leap of faith? And then it was like all the stars had aligned and people from all over the world, from every aspect of my life, from back in Canada to traveling Australia to backpacking Europe, everyone raised their hand when I had put out there, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start my own company. And one person would say, I'm a photographer. Do you need some headshots done, maybe for your website. Oh, I'm a web designer. I can help you with your first edition website. Hey, I'm a pro at social media. Let me give you some tips. And before I knew it, like all these helping hands had come together and the business was launched. So I'm forever
Wow.
grateful for all of you who are listening. Thank you. I will
Yes.
never, ever stop saying thank you to all of you.
I love your mindset of gratitude. I live in the very same
Mhm.
space as well. And I want to talk about, um, and what's my favorite part about what you just talked about too is that you weren't just, okay, let me like start a business on the side, getting everything launched before I quit my job. You're like, nope, I'm going to quit today. And tomorrow I'm going to open my laptop and just start from a blank page.
Yeah,
That is true balls right there.
yeah,
Or I'd like to say true tits because I think women are stronger.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. I agree. I love that. That's good. That's good.
So let's talk about stars aligning and manifestation because I believe like this theme of manifestation keeps coming back to me over the last
Mhm.
couple of months. And I truly believe that some people are really just naturally good at manifestation. Now, I don't think it was an accident that all these people magically aligned to you when you started your business. There was something that you were putting out into the universe and you manifested
Yeah.
this, April,
Yeah.
right?
I'm like such a firm believer. The energies that you output, it all
Mm-hmm.
circle back, eh? And so there's the
100%.
Canadian still in me.
There's
Eh?
the Canadian. I was going to say that was one of my questions, but I
Yeah.
don't need to ask that anymore.
But anyway, I have my little morning routine, and I wake up in the morning and make my coffee and I yell out into the world, "You're the happiest girl in the world. You have got this today. It's going to be an awesome day. It's going to be fun. You're going to be successful and everything is going to be wonderful." Or something along those lines. And
I love
yeah,
it.
if I woke up in the morning while I was making my coffee thinking, "Oh gosh, I wish I was back in bed," would I have really had that motivation? And what I've had so many people want to get on board. People could see when you output like inspiration and like good vibes, and I think that you just attract that back.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think people are attracted to like-minded people, right?
absolutely.
And
Hmm.
if you that's the magnet that you're throwing out there, it just very naturally attracts. And I'm sure too, like in your customers or your clients that you see with your tour company, is that they are clients that just love this fervor for travel
Hmm.
and I'm sure are really amazing people as well because you attracted that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely. Honestly, like 100%, like 99.9%, I should say, of my clients say, "April, I feel like we've been best friends forever. You're not a tour guide, but I feel like you're my best friend living in Paris, and you're just introducing me to your city." And so there's that whole idea, just like attracting those energies and manifesting that positivity. For me, manifesting like the best clients. We have so much fun every day. I honestly think I have the best job in the world. Yeah.
Amazing. And so let's talk about April in Paris tours.
Hmm.
When you had first started it, how did you come up with the name? Was it what it is today or where did you start?
So, first of all, yeah, I wasn't going to call it April in Paris tours because I thought, what if it's not me giving the tour? And my mom was a huge advocate. She's like, "You need to call it April in Paris tours. There's a song, there's a movie." And then I met my mentor, who's turned into a dear friend of mine over the past that decade. And she was like, "Are you crazy? Girl, you need to call it April in Paris Tours." Like, she is a marketing genius. And I said, "Well, what if it's not me giving the tours?" I expressed my concerns. And she said, "April, if it's not you giving the tours, like when the time comes and you expand your team, you're going to train them to ooze your personalities. So it's not going to be a problem." And honestly, calling the company April in Paris Tours is such was such a great idea because it is a famous song. Like I said, the movie, there's books. Also, like when you type in what to do in Paris in April, obviously I pop up. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah. For so many,
So
they're like,
April's a big hit for you on the SEO front, right?
yeah. And April is my busiest month of the year. I always say everybody wants to tour with April in April. So it's,
I love that.
yeah.
Now let's talk about now you're on that topic of names and naming the company April in
Mhm.
Paris. The big comparison that I'm sure you get a lot is with Emily in Paris, but technically you are the OG
Yes, that
because
is what I
you started
always
before
say.
her.
I know, I know. So, July 11th this year will be 10 years since I launched April in Paris Tour. And
Congrats.
thank you, merci. And that Emily has been around since 2021. Yeah. So, she took my name. And it's funny because there's some scenes in the show. I'm like, this sounds a little familiar. And I've talked to my mentor
No
about this.
way.
Yeah. So my mentor, she's American. She's been here for 30 years. She's from New Orleans, and she's I'm pretty sure that they like see me on TV. She's a TV personality, and they pick apart my outfits and they dress Emily like how I dress. And she does these photo comparisons. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I say that about my Instagram. For like example, my parents come to visit their first time after I moved here. It was their 20-year wedding anniversary. And I organized a vow renewal ceremony at the I Love You Wall. So
Hmm.
now all of a sudden, Emily in Paris comes out. Her and Gabriel are scouting a location for this big romantic gesture and proposal between Gabriel and me, and they go to the I Love You wall. And I'm like, this sounds so familiar, huh? First you take my name, then you take my ideas.
They might as well just hire you as a consultant for the show. You know
Right?
what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's make it happen. We'll connect all the dots
Oh,
afterwards.
manifest it, right?
Manifested. That's right. And the thing is, if it imagine if there's like some background like designers just like creeping your page drawing inspiration,
Yeah.
that would be incredible. That gave me chills, which means that something in the universe is happening there, right?
That's
And
so
it's true, like
funny. Yeah.
you were talking about your essence and just, what if other people tour for April in Paris? Like what would happen? But it's really the essence that you give off, which
Yeah.
is very much like I can see the similarities and the comparisons
Hmm.
between you and the character of Emily in Paris.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge compliment to you.
My French is a little bit better, but all my French friends poke at my accent still. Some say it's charming, but some are like, April, you've been here almost 12 years and you still talk like that. I'm like, no, it's okay. It shows courage. So,
It's just your essence. That's totally fine. You're
yeah.
like, this is my package, right?
Yeah.
So, congrats on your 10-year anniversary
Thank
in July.
you.
That is huge. And so, what is it that you have really loved about starting a company? And what are some of the big things that you've learned over the last 10 years about entrepreneurship abroad?
Yeah. Well, you know, the challenges are, I faced a lot of challenges, I must say. I, I've been lucky, like coming here to France, and I have been able to manage to skip a lot of the paperasse. I love that word, paperwork, because I have an Italian passport. So I have dual nationality, so that allows me to stay here in France. It's
Okay.
part of the EU. The French love bureaucracy and paperwork, and I have never had to step foot into the prefecture, like the visa office, visa renewal office. I have a few friends who have cried and cried, and is it even worth all those tears to really fight to be here. That's how bad I've seen it for some people. So
Yeah.
anyway, I got to skip that loophole. That's when Paris was victim to two terrorist attacks. Unfortunately, bang in the middle of the center of the two attacks. So after the second one, everything canceled. It was already just my
Yeah.
first year going into winter. It's quiet as it is, and I never thought the business would take off. I never thought I would have another booking again, but luckily that changed. I had to put on my thinking cap, get creative, and figure out a way to capture the attention of the general public and to say it's going to be okay. Paris will persevere. And that's actually when I met my mentor. I wrote to her along with some other bloggers and journalists. She has been writing this nouvelle lettre, like a newsletter before blogging was a thing, huge following. And I said, come along on a tour if you write about me. And that's pretty much how it all really took off. So, with other challenges that I've had is pandemics, COVID. And
Yeah.
so just like I didn't work 16 months during the pandemic. So staying positive during times like that is definitely could have been like was a challenge. As you can see, like I'm a pretty positive vibe girl, lady, and but yeah, in moments of despair like that, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But in the end,
Yeah.
we're such a great community here in Paris who work,
Hmm.
us guides who work in the tourism sector, not to mention the love and support and encouragement of my loved ones back in Canada, even back like in Australia, around the globe, all the folks I've met, friends I have met, I guess I should say, over the years, just saying, it's going to be okay. It's a rough spot, but it's going to be fine. But
Amazing. And so during the pandemic, you shut down. Like there were no tours going because you do outside tours. Did everything shut down?
yeah, oh yeah, everything shut down. The borders were closed. I came back to Canada actually. I managed
Yeah.
to get out just in the nick of time because at that moment I was living in a 14 square meter studio. And so it was much
Small. Yeah.
better to be back in Thorold with my parents, the big house, the big garden, instead of being like a little caged animal. Here it was so strict. You could
Yeah.
leave your house for an hour a day within a kilometer of your home. Yeah, yeah. Eventually,
What a
people, a lot of guides started to give virtual tours, and a lot of those guys were still here in Paris, so they could leave their house for that 1 hour a day and still do these live virtual tours. And I was back in Canada, so it wasn't quite the same case for me. But eventually, I I created a virtual tour using Canva, using like photos and videos that I had filmed and acquired over the years, and I turned it into this kind of fun, interactive, presentation. I guess the word is I'm looking for. Yeah, the presentation, and I would send an email to people who would book saying, you can wear stripes, lipstick, bring croissants, bring some wine. Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So
Love it.
that positivity in that excitement, like really got me through those kind of months when I couldn't be out walking the streets of Paris.
Totally, totally. And that was a really hard time. And Paris has gone through some pretty big events, right?
Mhm.
With
Yeah,
the terrorist attacks, COVID was everybody, and
yeah.
it's still it really impacted the tourism industry, the gilets jaunes,
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah. We are
I
just
know
talking
things.
about
I
that
know
this
things.
morning. I know. Yeah, yeah. Even the Olympics in Paris last year,
Oh, yeah.
the
Oh, my
people were
gosh.
afraid to come to the city for regular tourist reasons, pretty much. Because most of the games were held in the spaces that were already existing. So out in Versailles was equestrian. At the Eiffel Tower, they built a beach for beach volleyball. Some of the swimming, as you would have seen on the TV, some was done in the Seine. The streets were made for the or used for the racing and biking, and so people were coming for a different type of tourism. And so everybody
Yeah.
working in the tourism sector, we were just anticipating the worst. And yeah, it's true. Millions and millions of euros for tourism revenues were lost last year. But the positive spin on the JO or the Olympics was it was a lot of great free advertising for Paris and
For
France as a
Paris.
whole because the games were across the country. So this year and next year, we are anticipating even busier than that, like revenge tourism after the pandemic kind of.
Revenge tourism.
Yeah, yeah. Thank
And your
you.
story needs to be shared. Like, I think it's so special. And France always holds a very special place in my heart
Yes,
because my husband is
husband.
French, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
he's from Lyon. And so we visit France a lot. And surprisingly enough, you're going to be so disappointed in us. We have both been to Paris separately,
Oh,
but we've never been to Paris together. So
you
we're going to come see
you
you.
need to come. I will be your
I
host.
know.
Yeah,
You will. You will have to. And
absolutely.
on that line, this is something I want to ask you is that we're both Canadians.
Mhm.
You live in France. I married a Frenchman. Canadian men or Frenchmen? Let's talk about dating.
Okay, so I must say, I swore off Frenchmen. Okay, they're the most complicated creatures in the world. When I would come
No
back to
way.
Canada, the thing is like guys in their big baggy pants and their backwards baseball caps, and I'm like, where is the class in this? So anyway, I am totally in love with the Frenchman now. We, yeah,
Yay.
we're
Oh my goodness.
planning our life together, having a family. He's from Paris, but he is not like the
Oh.
other French men, okay? He's just
He
so,
must be from a small town. Is he from
yeah,
Paris?
he's from Paris. He's
Oh.
like me. He's traveled the world. He has, he's has open eyes and an open heart. And I just think like we had so much in common because of our worldliness that he's not very Parisian like those other guys.
That is a first here on Fearless Entrepreneurs. I love it. And so let's talk about expanding your team. So now you've been in business for 10
Yeah.
years this year.
Hmm.
And so when did you decide to grow it and how did you grow it and how did you do your first hires?
So I have a team of 14 guides now, actually,
Wow.
and four chauffeurs. I have an intern as well. However, they're not my staff. I have to admit. They
Okay.
are contractors. So, yeah, it
Great.
just makes it a lot easier this way. However, I was listening to one of your episodes the other day in the fellow, I can't, oh gosh, I can't remember who it was. And they're like, you have to just let go sometimes. You're going to hire that first person. And even if they give 80% of you, at least that 80% is going to be amazing. You know,
Yeah.
they're not going to word every single sentence the way you might in like emails and communication. But if you got 80%, you've got it good. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but for now, yes, we're all contractors. And it's just,
Hey, you know what? Nothing to be ashamed of with contractors.
no,
You're
no, and
empowering people to be entrepreneurs as well, and
yeah,
they
yeah,
become your colleagues versus like your employees, which is also a very
yeah.
beautiful thing.
Whenever I talk about April in Paris or talk about the guides on the team, I say we or our team. They're not my staff. They're not my minions, but we're all one big happy community. And it just works well that way because the guides that are part of my team, they work with other companies as well. And you get to bring your knowledge from one one company to the next and keep growing and keep improving. And we all just want the best for everybody. Yeah, yeah,
100%. I love that. And there's absolutely, I think that with businesses that really start off, like independent contractors are the way to go because you're helping employ other people, but also you're focused on building your revenue before you can make that first hire,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so I think it's just it for me because so I come from a recruitment
yes,
background. That's
mhm,
my business.
yeah,
And that's where you can really start to grow and scale your business. So I absolutely think it's the right
mhm,
move to make,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
And-
And so tell me about your sweetest tour. Tell me about the most memorable tour you've given to your client. I would love to hear that story.
Okay, I have so many great stories. Just seeing the magic of Paris coming to life in the eyes of all these excited tourists. But one, right off the top of my head, this is the one that comes to mind. So, right when I was first starting out, there was a mother daughter, Natalie, and her mom. And the mom, she was about 80. She was quite elderly. And in this morning, she wasn't so happy to meet me. Let me tell you, the jet lag in that particular morning, it was
Okay.
cold, it was blistery, it was rainy, and she was not happy to be out on a full day walking tour in winter with me. And I was like, hey, we've got to keep the energy levels positive, and I'm going to do whatever I can to make the lady happy and have a full heart of Parisian love by the end of the day. So we ended up, I meet all guests at their accommodation first thing in the morning, nice meet and greet. And there was a little farmer's market just around the corner. So we went to the farmer's market first, tasted some yummy French delicacies, bought some scarves and to warm up in this cold weather. The quintessential Parisian experience. And the mom really liked to shop. She made that clear. So she was already starting to warm up. And then around the corner, she had no idea, but the Eiffel Tower was there, the Champ de Mars, the park where the tower stands. And
Mm.
we turned the corner and there was the Eiffel Tower, and she just wasn't expecting it, and she burst into tears. Like it was like
Oh my gosh.
the last thing she was expecting, and there it was. And she turned and she hugged me and she said, "April, I never thought this moment would come true in my entire life, and here I am. And so, thank you." Anyway, that from that moment on, it set the ambiance for the rest of the day, and everything was fine. She loved it. We had 2 full days together, and by the end of it, she adopted me as her own child. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
What a special story,
yeah, I will
Cindy.
always remember that story, that moment. Like I can still see
Yeah.
the tears in her eyes, like it happened yesterday.
Because it's so real and it's so
Yeah,
authentic
yeah,
and
that
you're
was raw
really
sentiment.
opening people's like eyes to travel and the beautifulness that you experienced when you were 17.
Yeah, there's so many perks to what I do, but that's the best one is just getting to see people's reactions, those wow factors. Or you mentioned the sweetest tours. I offer food tours, so biting into some of those sweet treats and hearing the yums and the
Yes.
moans. And
Oh, that's going to be me and my husband when we go there. It's definitely going to be a food tour.
yeah, I'm a huge foodie. I've got you covered, Cindy.
Okay, yay. So tell me a little bit about I know that you were a language major.
Mhm.
You've always been really apt with language. How did you find yourself adjusting to language and the French culture, which is so different than Thorold, Ontario, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was just having such a European upbringing, right? Because I came to Europe so many
Right.
times, and I got to experience that European life in Italy for so many summers. So I didn't have too much culture shock, actually. Although I do remember the year I spent abroad in speaking Quebecois instead of French, and people looking at me like I had 7 heads, okay? Yeah.
It's true. It's very different.
It's
Yeah.
so different. But I think that no, just because of my upbringing, I didn't have too many dilemmas to navigate once I go out here. With language, there's always room for improvement, even these days. Although I speak French quite fluently, I do not have a Quebecois accent. I have an American accent, but still, till this day, like for you, when you come to Paris and see me, Cindy, okay, for you, I might
Of
sound
course.
Parisian, but for the Parisians, they can hear my twang. They know I'm not from here,
Yeah.
even though I speak the language fluently. And so often I'll say bonjour, and maybe it's my like friendly sing-songy voice. Bonjour, comment allez-vous? And they're like,
It's maybe just not
yeah,
French.
they're like, what the heck is this girl even saying? Why is she asking how
Where's
I
your
am?
karaoke side?
But they switch to English right away. 95% of the time, I have a two-language conversation.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And you're like, I actually speak French.
yeah. Like, I've met. One day, I'll be the mayor of Paris. I know
Yeah,
everyone.
you
Everyone
will.
knows me, and that's like the joke between my mom and I. Because when she comes to visit, she's like, "You literally know every single person." Yeah, she's like, "You're
Oh,
going to be the mayor anyway." So the people that I know and that I come across on a daily or weekly basis, the small businesses that I support on my tours and whatnot, there we hold it down in French. But if it's a new cafe that I'm frequenting or popping into a different boulangerie or bakery, they hear my twang. Yeah, all the
yes.
time. They switch. They
My
switch.
twang.
Yeah.
I love it. Amazing. So, so what was one moment in Paris that made you say, yes, this is like why I'm here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, every day when I see the Eiffel Tower,
Oh, still,
I
hey,
will never
still?
get tired of seeing the Eiffel Tower. If I bring you into our kitchen, you can see the tip of it from the kitchen window. Yeah,
No
honestly, and every
way.
night the Eiffel Tower twinkles for 5 minutes from sunset till 1 in the morning. I'm at the kitchen sink every night, and my chéri is like,
Mm,
April, what are you doing? And like, it's twinkling. He's like, April, you've been here almost 12 years. I'm like, I know. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. Like when I'm like in a Uber going, through the city or on the back of his motorbike, my boyfriend's motorbike, and we're going past the Eiffel Tower. It's the Eiffel Tower. I get that pinch me moment every time, especially in the evening when it's the city of lights. It's the essence, really, of the city of lights when it's all
yes.
lit up. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And you're making me want to visit Paris.
Come,
So
girl,
I'm going to go
come.
there soon. I will. Do I? I'm going to take, this is my thoughts. I'm going to go with my husband to do like a me and husband tour.
Yeah.
But also, like, I really loved that idea of like a mother daughter. So my daughter is 5 right now.
Oh,
My
yeah.
idea is when she's 16, I'll take her wherever she wants to go for a mother daughter tour.
Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully, we can persuade her to go to Paris.
Yeah.
I'm just
Oh,
saying.
yeah. It's Audrey Hepburn who says Paris is always a good idea.
It's
So
always a good idea.
always.
Y'all can find April. We'll link her company website. If anyone is visiting Paris, you are definitely someone to be in touch with,
Thank you.
including myself. I'm there.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you can find April on Instagram as well as Facebook,
Yeah.
as well as TripAdvisor, which we'll link in the show notes. What do you have coming up in the fall that you want to share and promote?
Oh, so coming up in the fall, I'm very Parisian and I take the whole month of August off. So I'll be
Very
extra
good.
chirpy come the fall after a month
Extra.
away. But actually, this just happened yesterday, but come fall time, it will still be the newest experience that I offer. But I've
Okay.
expanded to Bordeaux. So, yeah, so that is something
Nice.
new and exciting. And come fall time is when the harvest will be happening. So, a lot of great
Beautiful.
wine based, and I know you like wine, Cindy,
I
okay?
do love wine. I
Experiences.
do love my wine.
coming your way. I say à bientôt à Bordeaux. So yeah, yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
Okay, well, we'll promote that when you have all the links and everything. We'll get
Perfect.
that
Thank
all
you.
shared for
Thank
everyone.
you.
Okay. Thank you so much, April. You're such a dream,
Well,
and I cannot wait to go
yeah,
visit
I
you in
can't wait
Paris
to
now
welcome
even
you.
more.
Yes, thank you so
You
much,
know,
Cindy. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you this afternoon. So, merci beaucoup for
amazing.
having me.
De rien. I'm so glad you joined us today for the Fearless Entrepreneurs podcast. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend or someone who could use a little inspiration. You can always reach me, your host, Cindy Chang, directly on Instagram or Spotify DM. I love hearing from you. Don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a review. It truly means the world to me. Until next time, stay fearless.